Greetings and hello, gamers. On this episode of Have You Played, we take a look at Matt's review of Max Payne 3. Matt's Payne.
Very clever.
Thank you.
For some reason, I played the Max Payne games out of order, so I might as well review them out of order as well. I already covered the first entry in the series, but my introduction to Max Payne was through Max Payne 3. I knew the game had mixed reviews and was developed by a different studio than the first two games, but I saw it on sale one day and decided it was time to dive in. As a direct sequel to Max Payne 2, I do feel that Max Payne 3 leaves the player longing for something. The first two games were written by Sam Lake, the man who also wrote 2010's Alan Wake and 2019's Control. The absence of Lake's writing does sting, but only when I directly compare Max Payne 3 to its predecessors. While I was playing Max Payne 3, I enjoyed the writing for the most part. It was a bit hokey at times, some strange plot holes that I suppose can be explained away by the unreliable narrator, some cheesy one-liners, but ultimately the story felt like a fun, modern action movie. And if you go into it with that mentality, Max Payne 3 is a really good time. The game follows a similar formula to the first two in that it's a third-person shooter that utilizes time manipulation mechanics. I got through the first two Max Payne games without ever really using the bullet time. I don't know why exactly, but it just never felt necessary. And I honestly forgot it was even an option sometimes. Max Payne 3, however, features several segments that force you to use bullet time in these big, choreographed shootouts. The game features a lot of exciting set pieces, and all of the environments feel real and are fun to move around in. Like in Max Payne 2, there are occasional companions that will join you for levels. One thing that was very confusing to me was the fact that your companions will constantly be urging you to move on to the next area or room.
Wasting time, man. We gonna do this?
But the game also rewards thorough exploration of every section. It's something that totally clashes, and I have to wonder how the team justified this. I suppose you could go out of your way to argue that Max is just flexing his rebellious nature by ignoring the commands of these computer-controlled companions, but from a design perspective, it really only works to muddy the player's experience. The game has a distinct visual style, using these big blocky letters and glitch effects. The game has a lot of stylistic similarities to Kane & Lynch 2, although this is a much, much better game. If you've played through the first two Max Payne games, you'll enjoy seeing flashbacks into Max's life. Rather than just drop references to the older games, this entry does try to further explore and expand the story of Max Payne as a protagonist. And in some ways, it feels like the game is pushing the character of Max Payne into a much larger world than was featured in the first two games. The storytelling and atmosphere in Max Payne 1 and 2 often felt like an action movie shot on a soundstage, whereas Max Payne 3 has that action movie feel, but more like one that was shot on location. The score for the game was composed by the band Health, and I think they did a great job. The music all feels very intentional and does a lot to define and heighten the overall vibe of every level. I'm really not usually a fan of third-person cover shooters. I've never been able to get into the Gears of War series or anything like that, but the story and presentation of Max Payne 3 kept me engaged all through the 10 or so hours it took me to complete it. While I do think the first game in the series is still my favorite, and arguably the best Max Payne game, Max Payne 3 is a solid shooter with a unique style that you should definitely try out if you haven't yet.
Well, Andrew, I have to ask you,
Yeah?
have you played Max Payne 3?
I don't believe I've played any Max Payne game, but I do have a story about them.
Well, let me know right now.
I think when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, I went over to this kid who I thought was really cool. He's a couple years older than me. He was just like a cool kid. And I think he was playing the first Max Payne.
Mm-hmm.
It was a single player game, right? It's not
Yeah, they all
co-op.
are.
He was playing that, and I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to play with him, but I couldn't because it wasn't multiplayer. So.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Oh no, do you? I had a little pistol toy, like a fake little shooting gun,
Mm-hmm.
and I used it to shoot at the enemies and the bad guys in the game. So I was helping him fight off the bad guys in Max Payne.
Wow, you're a very good
Pretender.
buddy.
It was very silly. So this game looks cool. It does remind me of Kane and Lynch that we played.
We started that game. It was not grand, interesting, but not good.
Yeah. It seems like everything was there. Maybe it's one where it's like, dude, after the 10th hour of playing, everything gets really good.
From everything I've read from people who've actually completed it, no, it's a slog.
Oof. So this is like, it seems like a better version of it. It looks cool. Ah, man, it was concerning to me that I know Max Payne as the bullet time game. Mm-hmm. Like you always see the, like they ripped it off in the Matrix game. Well, I guess they ripped it off. I don't know if they ripped it off. What am I trying to say here?
Max Payne was the first game to really do it that way.
Okay. And I've seen it in a lot of other games, like any game with slow-mo.
Yep.
Beautiful Joe, Blood Rain.
It's basically become like a staple of video games now.
Yeah, it's so much so that if you don't think that there's slow-mo in a game that you play, there probably is. Like think about like hack and slash games where like it goes.
Yeah, and
like,
I use slow-mo all the time in like the original Legend of Zelda or Balloon Fight. Great slow-mo modes in those
There's some really cool slow-mo. Are we in slow-mo right now?
Yes.
Oh. But yeah, it was a bit concerning to me that you found that you didn't really use the slow-mo at all in the previous titles, but it seems like they worked it into this one a little bit more organically.
Yeah, there were sections where you just kind of started in bullet time.
Okay.
And the other games, there were some sections that I probably should have used it on to help aid me through some very intense, frustrating battles, and I would just like fucking forget that it was a thing. Honestly. Yeah. I mean, that's on me. I mean, everyone else I know who has played it used it because it's fun. I don't know.
It's probably good that it works with or without it, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's not like a gimmick it relies on. It's just like a fun power you can use.
That one thing that you mentioned, though, where your allies or companions that are with you through missions and whatever, how when they're waiting for you to enter the next room as you're exploring, they're kind of like,
come on, let's go. Hey.
Yeah. They're
over here.
Idle dialogue, like,
yeah.
You ready? You ready? That happens all the time in games, and I think it kind of sucks, especially when like most games are like explore the area before moving on.
Yeah, in this game especially, like there's a lot like you find they're called golden guns, and you have to find them in parts. You know, you get like 3 or 4 parts of this gun, and you have the golden version of it, which I think just is I don't know, more powerful. It's an upgrade.
All right.
And you find those scattered throughout the levels,
and the golden hair trigger, and then the golden bump stock.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much, yeah. And like, if you're not actively exploring a map, you're not going to find those. And then, at the same time, always, hey, come on, we're wasting time, Max. We gotta go. And it's like, well, what is it? Because the game is giving me the information. Mm-hmm. The game can't give me conflicting messages without also saying like, hey, you might get conflicting messages. It's up to you to decide how you want to interpret that. Instead, it's just like confusing. But great game nonetheless. I really enjoyed it. That's cool. A minor gripe.
Max Payne seems cool.
Well, Max Payne does seem cool, and I don't know, I have nothing else to say.
All right.
No, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see other reviews, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. We have new reviews coming out all week long, and we'll be here again very soon on the next installment of Have You Played?